A lie always has to borrow from the elements of truth in order to become. Therefore, as long as the elements of truth are constant and present, the code language, which is truth, can be revealed. So, a lie is complicated because it manifests its own set of unsolvable causes and effects. It manifests its own set of unsolvable equations. It tries to run from its own natural origins of truth. This is why even a lie can be decoded and used to show its simplistic basics and truth. A story, whether factional or fictional, has its basis in the natural principle named morality. A lie is a lie because it runs from itself. This is why truth will always win, because truth will always find itself again. Hi, family. Uh, and the last video I posted, I was discussing the number 737. And I stated that that number is a very Hebraic number. It's all about balance. It is about having the ability to face truth and to face a lie at the same time. In order for this place to be able to balance itself out, it has to get to that ground of meeting itself, its lying self and its truthful self on the same playground. A lot of times when truth and lies meet up at the same place, it creates a storm. And so when you Google the number 37, what you find out is that the number 37 is what is called a stormer number. The storms that are raging in people's lives right now, the storm that is raging on this planet right now, is the storms that narratives about this planet, true narratives and false narratives, have created. Thus, we are in a storm. Now, we know where we are right now. And a lot of people right now are trying to find their way back to their original origins of truth. And it's hard to do here. It's hard to do because we have been programmed all of our lives to deny that truth. I remember when we was a kid, we used to say a saying, denial is a river in Egypt. And that certainly seems to be the case, because the rivers that we're swimming through right now, they are causing us to face our truth and our lies head on. I want to title this video The Rubber Band Effect. And what is the rubber band effect? we know that when we take a rubber band and we pull it back, there is tension in that band as we pull it. There is force behind pulling it. There's resistance behind pulling it backwards. Now, if we keep pulling it, keep pulling and keep pulling and keep pulling, we have the potential to break that band. But if we're wanting to slingshot that rubber band forward, what we do is, after a certain amount of resistance, we let it go. We let it fly. And so I'm reminded of the story of David and Goliath. The slingshot that David used, according to the story, had a pebble in it. And as he pulled it back and pulled it back, he wasn't just pulling it, he was also speaking to the band. He was commanding the elements in and around that band, that slingshot, once he let it go, to have a supernatural force that hit its target and thus went into the head of the giant and destroyed its life. As I stated before in the previous video, we are in the place where truth and lies meet. And if we're going to slingshot forward into our future at the present moment, we have to give ourselves the opportunity to reconcile the loose ends of our own stories. What is true, what is false. We have to give ourselves the opportunity to get the answers to those questions. Now, there are several scriptures that I use as a basis of reference for this topic. The first one, which I'll read, is John 8:44, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 36 through 68, Jeremiah 37, 6 and 7, Daniel 3, Jeremiah 46, St. John 3 and 24, and Luke chapter 21, verse 22. Let me go to John. I'm going to start at John 8 and start at verse 42. Jesus said unto them, If God were your Father, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from God. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Why do you not understand my speech? Even because ye cannot hear my word. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. And because I tell you the truth, ye believe me not. Which of you convinceth me of sin? And if I say the truth, why do ye not believe me? He that is of God heareth God's word. Ye therefore hear them not, because ye are not of God. Let me go to Luke 21. And 22. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. I wanna take a minute to talk about that scripture, because in a previous video I talked about stories and humanity's stories. A lot of these stories being in their ending chapters. And I also mentioned that many of these stories, some may say they're factual stories, based in facts. Some may say that they're fictional stories. Either way, that scripture, and that's the Red Letter Bible, by the way, is talking about all stories, all, whether factional or fictional. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. I said in a previous video that when stories are written, created, spoken, told, the author is responsible for seeing those stories come to fruition, begin and end. And this is the season that we're in, to see those stories not only made manifest, which a lot of them, if we're just watching a little bit, we can see that they're already playing out and have been playing out for a very long time. And we are in the end chapters of those stories. This is the hour to call in the endings of a lot of these stories. Because as humanity continues along its ascension process, it is trying to reconcile its truth to itself. Humanity is the man in the mirror. And so as individuals and as a collective, we're all being called to deal with our truth. And if we run away from that and its natural origins, then we choose to accept the lies of whatever that truth is that we don't want to face. And this is not for the purposes of judging, because to be honest with you, nobody can really judge our truth. Our truth judges itself. Nobody can really judge you better than you can. You know, for people who understand that Sometimes we can be our own worst critics, right? Sometimes it can be hard to forgive ourselves for a lot of the things that we may have said and may have done before in our lives. I can certainly remember times where I was like, hey, ooh, I got an attitude right there. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have did that. Or, I was playing tit for tat right there because they pissed me off. We've all been there. And that's okay. To err is human and to forgive is divine. But for those who find it hard many times to forgive are also those who find it hard to face their truth as well. And this is just where we are, family. We can no longer hide from our truth and stay in darkness. Everything in this hour is coming to the light, and specifically for the authors of many of these stories and decrees and promises written in these stories, whether it be books such as this one or books such as this one, the authors of these stories are responsible for seeing these stories play out, whether factual or fictional. They must be fulfilled. And so the earth realm itself is governed by the stories that have been told about her. And this is why we are in the process of assisting Mother Nature with rebirthing herself. But that rebirth and that reset requires the wrapping up of pre-recorded stories. The truth and the lies are forces that have created the resistance that we see, that we feel, that we hear, that we sense. These are the forces that have created this rubber band effect. Now, when the release happens, there is going to be a big boom in some fashion. And so, the best way to prepare ourselves for whatever is to come is to pick a side, is to make a choice. Now, let's talk about those who believe in the promises of God and what those promises have meant. Because as children of the Most High, we have anchored ourselves in believing that God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man sows, that is what he shall reap. We're anchored in that. We believe that. And as children of the Most High, we also have a right to ask the question, are these promises going to be fulfilled? That's a yes or no question. and we have the right to ask it. Because if humanity is going to, whether it be in 25 years, whether it be in 50 years, 100 years, or 500 years, or 1,000 years from now, whether humanity has the ability to no longer need an overseer, a father, a mother, if you will, to oversee running its own house and graduate from that need, then before we do that as a human species, we first have to see if those promises of the overseers will be fulfilled. That way, humanity can be given a true choice, not a false one, a true one, to say, I will continue to believe this, or I will now believe that. There is a time and a season for everything. And as I stated before, we are all in this together. We are all participating in this ascension process together. Our truth and our lies universally are being called out. And this is an amazingly great place to be in for those who have accepted their story, whatever it is. I want to read this. What is a moral? And after looking up some information, what I was able to find out is that a moral basically is a lesson deriving from a story of mathematical origin realized around life events. And a moral story details, meaning variables, if you will, can and will change, but the moral or the mathematical portion of that story will remain the same, will remain constant. So the end game for a moral is the integer of that equation. Like 2 + 2 = 4, right? The 4 is the absolution. It is the truth of that equation. So are morals. So morals teach us what is true and what is false. It teaches us that based on what we observe, based on what we experience, based on what we feel, touch, taste, smell, hear, sense. This life teaches us what is true and what is false. The experiences help us to be solidified in our absolutions. And so this is in a very important time to draw a line in the sand. And also, it's going to give us the ability to decide whether we want to cooperate with our truth, or if we're going to continue to compete against it. Because if we have truly accepted it, then there's no need for competition. If we have not accepted it, then maybe it's still some things about our truth that we need to work out. So in a previous video, I talked about, us having the ability to begin to walk in a spirit of cooperation. And I think that that is going to also give us the opportunity to realize our human potential and what we really have the ability to do. I've been seeing some things on the internet where people now are beginning to experience being able to converse with the elements in nature. And I know this to be something that I myself have experienced. One day I was driving, I was picking up my husband from work, and at this particular time he worked about 40 or so miles away from where we live. And I noticed that when I was leaving the city, I crossed over a bridge, and as I was crossing over that bridge, it was storming really bad, like really, really, really bad. And then it kind of got off the bridge and kept going. It stopped raining as hard as it was, but it was still, kind of cloudy. And I noticed that this cloud, it was like a kind of a big cloud, kind of big grayish cloud. If for some reason it was like it just kept traveling with me as I went down the road. And I'm just, kind of, how you see something, you just keep going, whatever. And for about 20 miles, about halfway there, I'm in a whole nother city, and I'm just going, and the cloud was still there. And I was like, that don't feel right. And I was in the car by myself, but knowing me, I'd have still said it anyway, even if somebody had been in there, because I have just got to that point of accepting who I am. And so I looked up and I looked at that cloud and I said, stop following me. And immediately, the cloud that had been trekking along with me for about 20 miles, immediately that cloud began to do like this. And the clouds that were around it did the same thing. And then the sun was out, and for the remaining 20 or so miles of the road, it was clear, sunny skies. Now, these types of things, when it comes to, for some reason, like stormy, cloudy weather, rain, for some reason, I've had, a few instances of being able to communicate with those types of elementals for some reason. But in any case, my whole point to giving that example is when we get to a place where we have the ability to cooperate with the elements that's in our lives and that is around us, when we're not in a state of competition with those things, when we speak out of love and out of light and not in intimidation, when we speak, those elements will respond to us. Because I'm not speaking from a place of intimidation, but at the same time, I will not be intimidated as well. When we do that, we have the ability to get the things done that we need to get done. And so as a kid, like storms and stuff, they used to make me a little nervous. So I get hungry and start getting the munchies and stuff like that when it be storming and stuff. But as I got older, stormy weather, if for some reason it just makes me feel right at home. Like it's just so calming and so soothing. And sometimes, I go to sleep with, the storm sounds on, the thunder and the lightning and the rain. It just soothes me like it does a lot of people. So one of the things that the cloud knew, in my opinion, is that she's not afraid of me. And how many of you know that most of the time when things, elements, bodies, whatever it is, knows that you are afraid of it, then when you ask it to do something, it won't respond. It won't do what you asked it to do. But when it knows that you are not afraid, and you come from a space and a place of truth, meaning I'm not bluffing, I'm not telling you a lie, I'm not trying to control you or manipulate you, but I am not going to let you control and manipulate me either. Then those elements, those things will respond. And many times respond in a positive way. Now, when we get to a place of accepting our truth for whatever that truth is, I am seeing, and I believe we will continue to see, that humanity will more and more be able to experience new things that it's never experienced before. Greater works shall we do, shall you do, when we accept our truth. And so this red letter Bible tells us that he that worships must worship in spirit and in truth. And if we accept the elements and cooperate with the elements that not only work on the inside of us, but also be aware of the God consciousness that is both on the inside and the outside of us, because all is conscious, then we have the ability to cooperate with that consciousness and get the things done that we need to get done so that we can continue to travel safely down the road. So the moral to the story is, if we are going to not pause here and just stay here and not go further, then that means that we accept who we are and what we believe, and do what we need to do, whatever that is, to be happy and to operate in love and in light and compassion. If we truly believe that those things are the things that we can live by and create heaven on earth, as many of us say that we truly want. We are all in this space together to see if we can get these things done together. Or if we can't, and if we can't, then we will know that we need to have a great separation. It's left up to us to separate truth from lies. It is left up to us to accept or reject our reality as it is. And with that being said, I'm going to jump off of here, and uh, the next time we're going to be talking about something else. But I wanted to go ahead and release this message today. I pray positivity, love, and light for everyone. Keep your family, friends, loved ones, and your enemies lifted in prayer, because we're all in this together, whether we know it or not. This is Scorpio season, and we're going to see, and probably are already feeling, many of the stinkers are out, attempting to reel us in, to sting us. But the thing is, we all have a purpose for why we're here. And we might not know what the end game is, but we do know that there is a purpose for why we're here and what we're doing. Keep yourselves lifted up. Do whatever you need to do to maintain your mental and physical and psychological health this season. Our yes is yes, our no is no. You don't have to feel bad about your no. You don't feel bad about your yes. Don't feel bad about your no. It's just that simple. Maintain focus, balance, positivity, love, and light. Do what you need to do to get you where you need to go. That's it, and that's all. So, everyone, have a great day. May God bless you. May God keep you. And we will see you next time.